for the Sony, I want crispness, I want perfection. And this one is like, I'm gonna do my own thing. Hi, I'm Setara Manasa from Shoot for Meaning, and today I'm doing a gear review of the Fujifilm X-T50 along with the 27mm aspherical lens. So in this review, I'm not really going to be talking about the technological specs of this camera, because to me the more important part is how it makes people interact with it and how you feel as a photographer, instead of kind of the numbers and the stats and all of these things, which are of course important, but you can find those in every other review. So I'm really going to focus on almost the emotional value of this camera. And I'm going to start off with kind of why I wanted this camera and why it's great for me. And then I'll go into kind of a little bit of the specs and the ergonomics, a little bit more about people and how they respond to this camera. So first of all, I was shooting before the X-T50 on the Sony A9. I shot on that for 2 years, and I took it on a lot of trips, mostly shooting wildlife, which it was great for. The autofocus is amazing, low light quality is gorgeous, the full sensor is very crisp, and the interchangeable lenses are perfect. We have a bunch of them, and it was great for wildlife and more kind of travel documentary-ish style shooting. And I started to go to more hangouts and parties and things like that that I wanted to shoot, where I wanted a little bit of a different response from people. So with this camera, people would look at it and kind of go, whoa, that's a big camera. I don't know if I want that pointing at me. Really kind of big, and like, you know, you could see it and it's very noticeable. But I realized that that was changing the photos that I got. It was changing mostly people's reactions, and also just the sheer size of it made it hard for me to go places, specifically into caves. I started caving, and this camera actually made my gear so bulky that I couldn't take it with me, which meant I lost out on shots that I really wanted. And it got to the point where I didn't feel like the camera was safe from damage, and so I wouldn't take it. And of course, I lost out on shots. I didn't go into as many places, which was a really big bummer for me, because I didn't get to go back to those places. And so I really wanted something smaller that I could still have control over, because, you know, I'd seen a lot of those little digicams, which would have been great, but I'd like to have full control over my settings, my ISO, everything. So when I started looking, the X-T50 was pretty high up there on the list. And then when I tried it out, it was amazing. I love the size of it because I do have a little bit small hands, but it fits quite well in my hand. For people who had bigger hands, felt the camera, say that it's great for larger hands too, but for me, those really, really big cameras are hard to manage sometimes. And I immediately noticed a change. People were much less formal. They had much softer reactions to it, almost more casual, much more candid. People wouldn't start fixing their hair or anything. And I also noticed that a lot of people would ask to hold it more, and I felt much more comfortable saying, yeah, sure, you can hold this camera. Another part of that was that this camera I bought with my own money that I saved up for my allowance, and so I feel much more responsible, whereas this was kind of my dad's camera that I inherited from him when he upgraded, and there's a whole different kind of feeling as the photographer. So yeah, I genuinely would say this camera has made me a lot of friends, or strengthened those friendships, because of that trust and just something to talk about, and they don't feel as kind of imposed upon and like where they have to hide and like run away from the lens or anything. There's none of that with this. It's also amazing for that because of the app that goes along with it, the Fuji X app, where you can just directly airdrop photos to your phone and you can just send them to people that say straight to your photos. You can edit if you want, although I haven't been editing much because of the film sims, which I could never do on the Sony. I love editing on the Sony, but it takes a lot of work to get it onto my computer, to cull on my computer, edit, and then bring it back to my phone if I want to share it with people. And I actually had noticed before that I wouldn't shoot as much on the Sony, just because I was thinking about the post process instead of actually shooting and enjoying shooting, or the result of the shooting the photos. I was thinking about, oh my god, I have to cull all these photos on my computer. Oh my god, I have to edit all of these. It's gonna take forever to post them. It's gonna take forever to get them on my phone. I'm not gonna be able to share it. It's gonna take forever. People are gonna be bugging me, so I just wouldn't shoot. This one is super easy. Cell service, Wi-Fi, whatever. Just drop it to your phone, text it to people, post it, whatever. And it's very, very easy to travel with. This one, again, I had a big backpack, actually relatively small, but compared to what I have to carry this in, it's a big backpack that I didn't always need, and I didn't always want to have to manage, where is my backpack, where's the camera, do I need to put it back in, versus this one, I can basically just stick it in a purse and call it a day. I don't have to think about if it's gonna fit anywhere. In the caves, it gave me a ton of use. I was a little bit worried about the low light capabilities because it is a cropped sensor, but the ISO goes up quite high and I'm okay with that noise and grain a little bit, and so I just cranked that up and I could get perfectly good photos. But really the important thing about this one in the cave was I could take it anywhere. It fit in my cave bag. I didn't need a separate bag with this one, and I could take it into the tunnels. I could take it out in the tunnels without feeling like it's gonna get stuck or it's gonna get me stuck, even worse. And so it's honestly safer in the caves, and it was a lot easier to use. I only had to take one glove off versus this one I had to take two off, just a whole lot easier. Also, the pop flash was amazing for those low light scenarios. It does take a little bit of time to focus and then use the pop flash, but once you get used to it, it's quite easy. You will miss a few shots, unfortunately, but that's just something you have to deal with. It also helped me feel like I was still a part of the scene or the situation that I'm in. I could still interact with people despite the camera. This one feels a little bit like a wall. It feels like I am no longer a character in this scene. I am taking photos of it. Whereas the Fujifilm is much smaller. It's much easier. It's much more discreet. People don't notice it. And if they do, they really don't treat you differently as a photographer. There's always a little bit of hair fixing and whatever, but there is no hiding from this camera, really. People treat it almost like one of those small film cameras, the little Instax, because that's the closest thing that a lot of people have seen to this size camera. I would say this camera is the best for intermediate photographers. There is a fully automatic mode, but with the range of control that you have, I would say it's better to already know your way around a camera setting a bit in order to almost use it to its full potential to really get the most out of this camera. You can use it as a beginner, but there is so much that you could grow into for this camera. It's really especially great for travelers, and honestly, anyone who's shooting kids or people that are a little bit shyer. Of course, if you're shooting portraits, maybe not. They're used to having cameras in their faces, but more day-to-day things. This is for sure my everyday carry. Again, people don't really have a reaction to it, and so nobody changes their behavior. Nobody stops and stares at it. There are a few times where I would still prefer the A9 or a different camera. For me, I don't have a telephoto lens for this one, and the full sensor makes this much better for telephoto, long range kind of wildlife type shots, especially if it's action, more predators. You get a lot better tracking, sharper focus, and just higher quality raw photos. So for wildlife, I would definitely say this is not the right choice if that's your main goal. It's also a bit tricky to use in low light situations. It's not impossible, and you can still get great results. But if you're wanting something where you can put it on burst in low light and have it be really fast and lots of sequences, there is not a burst feature on this that is easily accessible, and the flash won't work with burst. So things like maybe homecoming dances, if you want those kinds of photos. I did take this to homecoming with me, and I did regret it a little bit. The photos turned out okay, but I was wishing for my Sony the whole time. It's a great camera for if you want something that is small and compact. Still very sturdy though. It's got some good heft to it, and it feels not like a piece of plastic. Almost fully metal body, I believe, but still with a full control range of all your settings, your whole menus, pretty easily accessible. So I am using this camera as a fixed lens almost. I don't have any other lenses. It is interchangeable though. I have the 27mm aspherical lens, and I've loved having a prime. Really about the prime for me, it's much more conscious compositions. And the other thing I love about this lens is the manual aperture ring, not dial. And so you get a very nice audible feedback of your settings, and it's quite easy to just pick up where you left off instead of having to remember the number. It's got a very tactile feeling that I like, and it's become also a lot more conscious part of my compositions instead of before on this camera I would just set it to usually around 4 or 5 depending on the situation, and then work on my shutter speed and my ISO more consciously. In terms of almost an emotional attachment to this camera, it definitely feels like a friend. I would say this camera, it's not quite a tool, but it's definitely very high tech, and it's almost daunting how advanced it is. And while this one is also incredibly advanced and you still have so much control, it just doesn't have that same feeling of, oh my gosh, I have to take these amazing photos to live up to the camera. This one feels a little bit more casual and fun and playful. So it's great for hangouts, parties, lunches, smaller vacations, or even bigger ones if that's what you're looking for, and if the situation calls for that. Oh, and the other time you don't want to use this is sports photography. Definitely not a sports photography camera. I did try that and it was not good. Also because I have a 27mm, which is not great for sports where you're not in the action. Yeah, the Sony, just the autofocus and everything is so much better for sports. But other than that, I have honestly been using the Fujifilm much more often just because of portability and again, control and people's reactions to it. When I was looking for a camera to solve my problem of people reacting to it, having big reactions to this camera, I had a few on my list. I was looking at the Fujifilm X106, the Fujifilm X-M5, the Sony A6700, and the Ricoh GR3 Mark IV, all of which I was looking for size and a little bit of control. And so what I did was I went into Precision Camera and I held all of these cameras, and all of them were too light, too small, not enough control. I couldn't reach the buttons well until I landed on the X-T50, and to me it just felt right. And I think that's really helped me make a connection with this camera almost. It really added to how much I value the camera because I knew none of the others would have worked. Despite specs and all of these things that I did research on, this one felt the best to me when I held it in my hands, and I think that is the best way to look for cameras. So what I'd say is, if you're looking for a camera, no matter what you're looking for, go to your camera store and ask to see all your options, and you'll get to see and feel, kind of experience the camera instead of just looking at it through a screen and kind of estimating, yeah, I think it'll feel fine, and focusing on the specs when really what matters more is how it feels when you take it around with you. So I hope this review has been helpful to you. If you have any questions about the camera, you can comment, like, and subscribe, and shoot for meaning.